Welcome to eThekwini Matters. My name is Zimbili Mazibuko, your host. Today in our studio, we are joined by Mr. Jabulani Dlamuka, who is the head of the Expenditure unit in the eThekwini municipality. He is here to talk about the recently adopted 2024-2025 budget. Mr. Dlamuka, sikubingelele sikwamukele namhlanje on eThekwini Matters.
And thanks, Zimbili. Good morning, and good morning to the listeners. Yes.
Tell us a little bit about your unit and the topic and how it relates to the topic that we are discussing today.
Yes. Okay, my unit, I'm responsible for the expenditure within the Treasury cluster. My unit, therefore, is responsible for the budget. We compile the entire budget for the city. We're also responsible for the financial reporting, that's internal and external. In the internal, we produce what we call the monthly management report in terms of Section 71. We also report to the external shareholder in producing what we call the annual financial statement and the annual report. We're also in charge of the city's taxation matters and accounts payable. That is an extra in my unit. That's what I'm in charge of. Thanks, Zimbili.
Can you outline the budget process? What is taken into consideration when a budget is drawn up?
Yes, Zimbili. A budget process, you see, the budget is the only means as a city we can be able to address the community's need. The process then starts from the IDP. There is a document which is called the Integrated Development Plan. This document is informed by our community, Zimbili. Community which are our shareholders, community who are the owners of the city. They submit their requirement in terms of the priorities. We ask them to give at least 5 priorities. In the current M2F, we then said, out of the 5, at least we must meet 2. This document then is consolidated to produce the IDP, and we fund then the IDP. That's basically what the budget does, is to fund those priorities as per the IDP. Hence, we cannot go to the community without knowing what is their need. Obviously, we've got other matters as a city that we need to address. We need to address the issue of employment, economic situation of the city, tourism, and we've got what we call also catalytic project, which drive the city's finance and economic status. So those are what we take in an extra into consideration. We also simply have what we call the budget assumption. The assumption are basically saying, what is expected economic growth in the city? We take that into consideration. What is the employment rate and unemployment rate within the city? What is the tariff structure of the city? What is our debtors level and what is our collection rate? Those are the financial ratios that we take into consideration to compile this complex and more sizable budget for the city, basically. Thanks.
Before the budget was adopted, there was a consultation process.
Yes.
Tell us about the importance of that.
Yes, consultation is legislated by the Act. We need to consult the community when we compile the budget. Remember, Zimbili, the community are the drivers of the city's service delivery. In other words, what we do is informed by what they want. You can't then ignore them. In fact, what we do, we go across the city and visit 111 wards. We then discuss with number of community in that particular ward. We get their need, and they also put an input on the budget. You see, when we go there, we've got an IDP and the tariff proposal, for example. We expect them to give their views in as far as the budget is concerned. They can say, Zimbili, no, you're going too high for the water. We can't afford that. We need to incorporate that because we are required to listen to them as the owners of the city, as the shareholders of the city. Hence, we do that particular process, yes.
Can you take us through the tariff increases for the new financial year and also focus on the interventions relating to the water challenges in the city?
Yes. Tariff increase this year. Tariff is very sensitive. It's a matter of saying that if we increase the tariff too much, people are not going to pay. To give you the story, we're currently sitting in excess of 25 billion rand worth of debt. So to increase the tariff excessively might mean that many people become defaulters and your debtors level increase. So we need to balance that. We therefore went to the community with certain figures in mind. And community, so as our stakeholder include Ratepayers Association, They raised concern to say that some of the proposals were too high. We then came back and revised these particular tariffs. Our revising the region was on the rates, which is our major tariff.
Yeah.
We put that one at 6.9%. Yes, it's 6.5, sorry about that. Because if you look to the rates, rate is charged on the properties. I mean, it could be a land or the building. Now, almost everyone is sitting under a certain structure. This applies almost to everyone in the city, including the people who cannot afford. How then do we increase? At what rate is the rate then should be increased? We felt that 6.5, considering that inflation is around 5.6%, is adequate. We then have electricity. Electricity, we don't have much say on electricity. As you know, electricity tariffs are regulated by NESA. What we propose in this tariff is 12.72, which was the rate provisionally we've got from NESA. We've made an application. They can come with a different rate, but their budget was approved with 12.72. We then have water. Water, simply, is life. We needed to increase the water in such a way that people can afford. Everyone can have an access to water. I'll talk about social packages, which is linked to this as we go forward. We put then water at 12.9. We feel that I need to explain that Umgeni Water Board, which is our bulk water supplier, gave us 9.5 for water. We need to construct a dam, which is called Umkomazi Dam. This dam is constructed, or the funding of the dam is based on the user principle. In other words, you pay as you use. As the water provider in Durban, we are the highest consumer of water from Umgeni Water Board. So we pay about 65%. So most of the water is coming to our city. Hence our contribution has to be the highest across all the cities or the district. We therefore contribute about 230 per kiloliter to the construction of those dams. You will then note, if we're coming from 9.5 from Umgeni, we had to add that to make sure that we meet the demand, because water is a scarce resource going forward. Other tariff was the sanitation, which we increased at 10.9%. And finally, we had refuse, which was about 7% and 8% respectively for both business and domestic. That's it in a nutshell.
Mnguni, having explained as you have done, the city offers relief to its customers through their social package and free services. Maybe can you elaborate on that?
Yes, I mean, that's a critical point. You see, you have to strike a balance. We have to acknowledge that the economic situation is so bad. Number of people are unemployed. They cannot afford, therefore, the tariff. You therefore have to have what you call the social package. As a city, we spend in excess of 5.1 billion rand to fund these particular packages. I think I need to take this and then maybe explain it so that everyone can understand. We've got a range which is called the 350,000. If your property is costing 350 or less, you are fully exempted from tariff. If your property is less than 350, it's from 350 and below, you don't pay. Further to that, we've got some also concession on areas of water and electricity. In water, we give everyone with a property of 350 and below 6 kiloliter free of water. In electricity, we've got the 65 kilowatts for the area which is provided by us, and there is an ESCOM provided area which provides also 50 kilowatts free electricity. So this is, we also have, maybe I should add the indigent policy as a city. You see, indigent policy says that if your property is 650,000 and your gross income for the entire family is max at 7,000, you should come in front to the city, to our Sizakala Center, and register as an indigent so that you can get those exemptions. So this particular investment on the social package seeks to redress, to say that we are not equal, and we know people are unemployed, they are suffering, we need to give them some relief. And I think it's going a long way. Obviously, it needs to be subsidized from somewhere else, but we can't assume that people are equal, economically and otherwise. Hence, we've got these social packages.
Nguni, before we wrap up, can you give us the overall operating budget and capital budget of the city?
Yes. This year, we tabled the budget of 67.2 billion rand in total. From there, we've got 7.6, which is capex, and 59.5, which is the operating budget. What the operating budget does, this is basically your day-to-day running of the city. The majority of this particular money goes to the funding of our salaries. Our salaries a year cost about 12 billion rand. We also have to pay for what we call the contracted services. This includes the leasing of water tankers, security which is provided to the city. This is about 6 billion rand. We also have the bulk purchases. This is what we purchase for electricity and water from Eskom and Umgeni respectively. At Umgeni we pay around 3.6 billion rand, and at Eskom we paid in the region of 16 billion rand. In a nutshell, that is our operating budget. Then we've got a capex, that's 7.6. Look, we've got a water crisis in the city.
Yes.
There's leakages everywhere. We've got sewer running to the ocean and endangering our environment. This budget then seeks to address those. Most of the investment on our capital budget goes to water and sanitation. We want to address the issues of leaking pipeline. We've got the pipe replacement program in this budget, which is provided in excess of 700 million rand. We want those black pipes, which are asbestos pipes, which are actually cracking every time, to be replaced. We also have a serious challenge that when we move to this new dispensation, the volume, the demand increase because the number of people who need to access to these services increase. The infrastructure then could not carry that because the volume, the demand was much higher. We therefore need to upgrade our system to deal with those demands, as we cannot leave them outside. They need to come to the mainstream and receive adequate services everyone. Hence, we put more money on sanitation, as I've said, electricity as well, to increase the capacity in the water treatment works and the reservoir so that more people have got access to that. The other area is what we call the catalytic project. We put about 774 million rand there. The catalytic project overall cost the city and the community, the investor, it's about 70 billion rand investment. But Zimbabwe, we've got such projects which are just touching the nerve of the people that we want to reach as a city. We've got a project like Giba Gotch down in Maranshil there by Jenimiama. If you look to the people adjacent to that project, they are the people who are really suffering. If we bring that infrastructure closer to that people, it could make a huge difference in as far as provision of infrastructure and also employment in those areas. We also have one of it which is called Jongweni. Jongweni is one of the biggest ones. We are commissioning the phase 1 of Jongweni in the coming year, and we expect to raise a revenue in excess of 541 million rand from those projects. We have to stimulate economy for the city so that people are able to pay, they are employed, there is vibrant activity in the city. You're going to therefore be able to reduce your debtors and your collection rate is going to increase. That's basically in a nutshell what we're trying to do in the capital. Yeah.
Do you have any additional comments?
Yeah, the additional comment, I think to the people of the city, I'm honestly going to say this is the people's budget. It's people-centric, it's centered around the people, their need. We've consulted widely, led of course by our CFO. We've taken the needs of the people into consideration. We've taken their cries into consideration. I'm asking them to make sure that this budget is executed to the core. They are our policemen on the ground. Zimbili project happens in wards and people are there. Suppliers, service providers who are servicing the city are there. They are delivering those services, their mandate. They need to make sure that those people perform to the utmost best. We get the value for money. If there is any difficulties, they must report those people. Communities own those projects. It's their asset. True. They must safeguard and make sure that we extract value for money. That's all I can say.
Nguni, sibonge kakhulu ngesikhathi sakho namhlanje on eThekwini Matters.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
That was Head of Expenditure in eThekwini Municipality, Babu Jabulani Dlamuka. My name is Zimbili Mazibuko, your host. From myself and the entire team, it's goodbye till we see you again. Don't forget to like, to subscribe, and to share.